welcome to the Recruiter Startup Podcast. I am joined by Sam Green from Few and Fire today. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, Dualta, yeah. And yourself?
Yeah, not bad. Got the kids off to school, did the gym session, getting cracking with a bit of work now. It's the last week of the month, right? So
A busy
what are
one.
we doing? We're squeezing candidates, we're annoying clients, we're seeing what can be put in before the end of the month, seeing what the team can get done. Projections are okay so far. Could be a really good month by the end of it. The spill over to December might be good, and that'll, if it is, then that'll be the first time we've had a full quarter of positive news.
Nice.
Despite the Labour government trying to self-sabotage, we're still standing.
We were just saying, weren't we? I think it's going to be crippling. I really think that.
Yeah. Do you guys work the international market, or is it just in the UK?
No, the UK is where we started, but we now service across Europe and the US. So
Nice.
we service it all from the UK, though. We keep our costs down by being London-based.
Can you give us your your elevator pitch on what your company does?
Yeah, so with Few and Far, we help digital product companies to grow their digital product teams. So essentially, engineering, product design, and data across perm and contract, ultimately across the world. We've been going since 2013, and yeah, we're about 20 people at the moment. Life's been
Mhm.
really good, really hard, getting better again.
Good stuff. So talk to me. You're at Huntress, and what was the genesis of, do you know what? Let's just do this. Give me that moment. Was that in a pub? Was it in the office? Did something happen? What uh what was the final straw there?
Yeah, I think there were three catalysts for me. The business was predominantly led by XS3 members of staff, and it was so KPI driven. And I was someone that was very off piste. I had my
Mm,
own way. I was top biller in the business across perm, um, but I like to do it my way. And as I run a business now, I recognise clearly the
yeah.
value of KPIs, right?
Well, were you a bit intuitive in how you work?
Very, very.
Yeah, I was a
Uh,
bit like that as well, but I don't think that's a good thing because it's hard to replicate. You can maybe have them, but they have to be siloed off, right?
I think the problem was they were trying to put me in the box of everyone, and I couldn't
Yeah.
be in that box. So I think that led me to have frustrations. Secondly, they'd opened overseas in Australia. A lot of good people wanted to move to Australia,
Yeah.
a lot of good friends. And so I was seeing those around me who, I really valued leave.
Yeah.
And I think the final straw for me was, I left that business late 2012. I wanted to build community. So I wanted to put on events for the network that I was recruiting,
Mm.
but they just wouldn't buy it. They didn't
Yeah,
put
it's
any
fine.
money behind the bar. They didn't believe in the logic of it. And clearly, I think I was proved right that events are valuable in recruitment years gone by.
Yeah.
Those things led me to say something's wrong. And I think the final thing, actually, there's a fourth, was I used to recruit engineers. Engineers at the time they wanted to leave what was then really digital agencies and move into what was known as client side, what we probably now know as like startups and product. And my business partner, Nick, he was recruiting product. And I think we just spotted this opportunity. So it kind of all happened at the same time pretty well. And yeah, that's how we started. So we planned it in the meeting room and off we went.
The community piece, it's getting spoken about more and more and more. Um, when when I launched this podcast in, I don't know if it was 2018 or sometime, I think it was maybe before COVID, probably. God, I don't know. It's been going a while. And I remember it. I thought to myself, "Do you know, I'm going to get loads of listeners I'm going to make placements from it." And then all the listeners were like guys like us, and then they're all asking me questions, and they could be younger than us and not as far on in the journey, or way further ahead in the journey, and it's their mate that was on, or maybe they're an advisor to it, and then kept getting questions from all of these people. And I found I was filling my whole day answering these questions instead of actually doing the actual 360 job. And from that, then with Andy Hallett, we built RecWire from our joint connection portfolio. Really, him a lot on the supplier side and some senior execs, and a lot of it was listeners on the podcast, and that community piece then has shaped the rest of our business.
Yeah.
And it kind of happened out of the content piece. How did you develop yours?
When we started the business originally,
Mm,
did really well um, was we immediately sponsored the largest product event, which was what we were known for, product recruitment.
yeah,
And we kind of like coexisted as their main recruitment partner, I guess, for years
yeah,
until that business was sold, like 10 years later. Um, and so we I guess it's in essence we planted ourselves straight at the heart of the community. We put money behind it, but also we started to develop community and events. So we would at that time go to every event in our space. That was kind of the normal thing. We didn't start to build events, but as
mm,
time went on, we started to realize the value of building our own events and in turn starting to build a community and
yeah,
servicing the community in a different way that wasn't just trying to make placements.
yeah.
I mean, we can get into like where we're going with community now.
Yeah, jump in, and we can spitball it because it's an ever evolving thing based on the needs of the people in there.
my view is really simple. And we have a lot of debate on this internally.
Yeah,
I think recruitment companies or recruiters still see communities as can I leverage placements from that community?
mm,
That's logical, but I think it's see-through. And I think everyone can recognize that you're trying to get a transaction from me in that respect. We
yeah,
should do that. That's our job. But I think there's so much more value to it that we can do. And it can be as simple as generating revenue from sponsorship of doing events or
mm,
charging for membership if your events or whatever you're doing with your community is really, really strong. So for us, we are next year, we are generating our own community that's separate to our business where it's you could think of it like an exclusive club. I don't want to share loads in case this airs before we launch it, but think of it like an exclusive club where it's almost like a high bar for entry,
yeah,
but there's massive value for those who are in there in terms of training, learning, awards, loads of things. So we're going completely off piste and not thinking of it as a recruitment play, but more a play for our audience
yeah,
that adds value to them in another way. Uh,
yeah.
we're seeing like loads of uptake from it because we just spotted a gap that's not being filled. So
Mm,
I think that's where recruitment needs to start thinking about, as one avenue for additional revenue
yeah,
besides marketing.
yeah. We're 5 years, 4 or 5 years into that journey, and it's very important when you're building out these things that you keep the bar high, and if you're not going to keep the bar high, keep it specific. So in our world, we've got four different groups primarily, five probably, but for one we have the supplier ecosystem, and any type of double-sided marketplace needs that. Um, then we have the independent recruiters. So they are like them, their wife, their dog, maybe they have a VA or two, and then we have the scalable companies. So they could be 5 to 50, 5 to 80, and only the founders, by the way, or the MDs in that world. And then we have the guys that barely speak, but if they need to ask a question, they'll flick it out just to see what the other enterprise organizations are doing. And uh, and those are the four different ecosystems. They've different qualification procedures to get into. And then you have to ask yourself, what are all the things that they're going to need to grow? Like they're going to want to know, firstly, they're going to want to know what their competitors are doing. Um, then they're not going to want all the suppliers in there knowing their business. They're going to want advisory. They're going to want finance, going to want technology. They're going to want people, right? And I like we do a little bit of that, but as you said, I keep it very, very separate. So every now and then my team will just post in there, got a guy, this, and this. If you're interested, hit me up. But it's a very small part of the interaction process. And it would be the same with Charlotte's advisory or Andy's advisory. Um, and then from that, then you, when you do the supplier thing into a community, then you have to say, what can I build myself? And that should encompass as much of it as possible. And that's a bigger journey. So we've learned loads over the years. Media celebrating the members, like making the members part of the media, not talking at them, and making sure that all the data is on point, but having the niche groups and keeping the bar high. So like there isn't some Nigerian and they're trying to sell you your fortune from a relative that you didn't know you had. Like you know exactly who the people are, you've eyeballed them, and I wish I had have actually conducted a proper interview of everyone before I let them in. That was a big mistake. I've started doing that over the past period of time, but that in hindsight, I'd go back on that. But
Right.
you get a bit lazy because
What would I have added for you to do the interview?
well, the value there would be it would give me more insight into their needs and wants and ambitions.
Okay.
Um, and I could then be able to service them in the right way. So if some new technology comes on board, or if something happens in the marketplace, I know instead of hammering everybody with whatever that is, or if I'm creating content for them, I know that I've spoken, say there's 1,000 in there, say 200 of them said, I want to know about America. Well, I'm like, okay, let me get the expert on that there in, and then we'll do that content. We'll look at the best services, we'll look at the best job boards, we'll make sure all of that's done. Otherwise, it's just a bit of guesswork. However, now with AI, it's amazing. You can pull the chat, you can say, tell me what people are interested in right now. Tell me, like, create me this, and it just saves so much time. So our marketing spend at the start was really high, but now with all the tools in AI, it's been reduced dramatically. So I'm sure it's all ahead of you. Um, and there's an unbelievable amount of fighting that goes on when you do these communities because there's so many different things to take care of. Um, but we went for the digital first route as opposed to in-person events. Some of that was because other people do in-person events better. And a lot of it, like Andy's in South Africa, I'm in Gibraltar, Charlotte's here. So it kind of the online version worked a little bit better. So
I,
I've,
I,
I've just gone on a bit of a monologue there, but
no, you're good. I think there's a few things I just kept in my brain as you were talking. I think first of all, we can debate in person or on online events. I'm personally a big fan of in person, especially after COVID, and we can talk about that. I think the second thing
let's jump into that first, right? Because
okay,
I've done the in-person ones.
go
All right. Somebody's not going to like this.
on.
A
Might be me.
lot of the best founders with the best spend don't go to them.
Sure.
What you have in my world, which is agency recruitment, which is guys like you, don't turn up to them, right? The 20 head count plus, the getting them in the door is so bloody hard. But I'm gonna have Rachel who's gonna bring her cat and her second cousin, and then you're throwing a big event and you haven't got the people in the door that are the ones that are going to create the spend and and add the value, and then the bar drops. So it's very hard like that. However, they will turn up for an online one knowing that it's just 20 minutes in their day, make it happen. They're not going to be tormented by everybody. They can keep suppliers at bay. They can decide if they want to engage themselves and all the rest. That said, if an in-person event is done right and amazing, and you do get all those guys in, yeah, then it's worthwhile. But then you're probably in the realms of a wine and dine round table, keeping it intimate, keeping it smaller. Um, yeah. That so we've ran about 10 of them. So it's just that's just some insights from that.
I don't not think that the online stuff works. I
Mm,
do think it works, but I think for me, when I think about, and I can only speak personally what I've seen, if I get invited to online things, which I do, I either go and I'm like, meh, or I'll sign up. I won't attend. I'll get the record link and I probably won't watch the record link because it's an hour
yeah,
long and I'm like, fuck it, I can't be asked.
yeah.
I think where I see value is tailored, bespoke roundtables, for example, where we do loads of these at work, where we put C-suite individuals at a sort of round table with breakfast or lunch, whatever it is, under Chatham House rules, which if you don't know, it essentially is just confidential conversation. Um, I would say we get an uptake of 90% that will turn up to those. If we get a drop off, it's because someone's sick. They go because we make sure they know who's coming and there's value
What?
behind it.
Yeah. What number?
What
What
number?
what head count are we talking in terms of the invite?
12 to 15 at a time max.
Yeah, that's what I would think. Yeah.
But that for me is, really value. When I think about like bigger community events, like I don't know, an evening meetup with 100 people, I do think you're scraping the barrel a lot of the time with who goes. I don't think that's
In
where
the
it's at.
recruitment world, 100% you are.
Yeah.
Like, so I think I think you've just helped me on that. I think we probably will jump into doing a 12-man round table in the future. That does make a lot of sense. Um, we've had a few other things that we're going to debate today, right? Wrote it down. Um, remote remote recruitment. You don't like it, eh?
Okay, so I'll give you first-hand experience to this. We were always a 5-day a week business. Obviously, COVID shifted that for most. We now operate hybrid. I also used to advise a company that were fully remote to my disagreement with the founder that I didn't think it was valuable. I think for that business, it proved to be a massive downfall for him.
Mm,
And there's a load of factors that are at play with that. What is the team quality? How is it managed? Everything else.
yeah.
I personally believe that people need, some freedom, flexibility,
Yeah.
fluency in how they operate. But I don't believe in sales personally that you can build a culture that is fully remote. And I've gone up and down on that one, but I think I will stand by that argument now, having seen it firsthand, that
Mm,
I think people want to be together as much as they can be and want to be, but that they require a mature environment that allows flexibility for them.
mm.
That's not to say, I'm sure you've got an argument that remote will work. It
Loads
does.
of arguments.
But I personally believe that if you're
Yeah.
like us with our size business and the type of team we have,
Yeah.
I don't think remote works for a business like us.
Yeah. I think it's challenging to execute it right. Um, I think it's it would be silly to say that our businesses are more complex than a SaaS business that can do it perfectly. You know, like remote distributed teams in the UK or in the US are pretty normal, right? Um, so the problem is 360 recruitment. And the other problem is the age of people we hire.
Right.
So if you're trying to teach somebody how to do 360 and let's say they're sub 24 years old and it's their first real job, there's behaviors, experience, and expectations that they're just not going to meet. And that'll be the core problem. But if you look at a SaaS business and they've got like they've got their sales executives all over. They do a meetup once a month. They make it all happen. But these people are trained. They've gone through their years and they've done that. So some of it is the short termism of recruitment. Some of it I think is 360 versus 180, 270 type models. and I've seen it work well on a scalable level. There's a firm in New York. They're one of our customers from RecWord Plus. So we've kind of seen under the hood, and uh, he was quite open about it in our private community as well on how he's gone about it. Um, they were initially a 360 business, and then with COVID and all the rest, decided, you know what, this doesn't make sense. Has his senior account executives slash 270 recruiters in New York, and there's an office there and all the rest. They're responsible for their niche, how they do it, all the rest. And then they have the sourcing team in Argentina, and they'll build out like that there. And then they run the week like a software company does and a software sales company does. And but there's a lot of complexities to get to nailing that. And I think they nailed the 360 scalable model and got it up to a point before that. I think it's very hard to start it from scratch in going remote and building your culture, doing all of that, and then doing it. So, like, let's say you're at 20, you've got, and out of those 20, 12 of them are quite experienced and they've moved on with their family life and all the rest. And they want to be in London, they want to be out here and they want to be there. They want to go to, they want to live in Brighton or wherever, right? If you had that team distributed and then you had your sourcing team as well, I think that works. But to do it from scratch and get to that 20 mark, I think is really tough.
So for the record, I agree with that. I
Yeah.
think my caveat is there's a few things. I mean, if I look at our biggest billers at work, I can tell you now they're the ones that are in the most, first of all,
Hmm.
and they don't want it any other way. Um, is that just us, or is that kind of a lot of places? I don't know. I think the level of maturity in our industry is pretty low, generally speaking, and so
Hmm.
it's a young culture. It's a culture that likes to collaborate, likes to get together. I think if I was to start again in a perfect world, as you know, a family man, got two kids, I'd love to build a remote first business for my own benefit with,
Yeah.
you know, late 30s, early 40s age recruiters that don't want to be at work but can hit the numbers, do it well. I just think it's a hard reality
It is.
to make happen. I've got a friend who runs a great business in America, and they're fully remote, and it works really well for them. So it doesn't. I'm not trying to suggest it cannot work. I just
Mm.
think for us as a London business, I don't believe it works for us,
Yeah.
our size team. We've operated in the Philippines as well, and you know, to some success. We've like, you know, outsourced
It's
sort of
very, it has to be very prescribed though, right?
very
Like they're not joining the dots. So there's, if they're doing the sourcing for you, they're not getting all the other information and feeding it back and making the next thing happen from it. It's none of that stuff's happened. So that that first period of learning how to do this right and learning through osmosis of people next to you, those first couple of years, you can't outsource that, and that's the tricky piece.
I agree. And for us, I mean, we've, you know, in the last 2 months, we've made three hires, all seniors, people that I can only dream of hiring usually. And we've worked really hard to make that work for us. And I think what we've realized is we do well with those who've already been trained by great places where
Yeah.
they've taken the risk out of it for us. They've put the investment in. Um, so I think, you know, could we longer term have an environment where we're fully remote? I don't think we'll ever be that. I
Mm.
think it can happen longer term, especially with outsourced sourcing models in wherever it is, Argentina, South Africa, Philippines, whatever. Um, I just don't think many London recruiters would do it. You know, we've got a rival. I'll leave it on this point with this remote stuff. They've moved remote. I can tell you now, they are the easiest hunting ground for our internal talent team to hunt from because they don't like it.
Yeah.
And they're hemorrhaging people because they don't want to be remote. So the argument can be both ways, but I think that's where it is for London.
Yeah, I think I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I and I know for myself, like I used to work way harder when I was in the office, and there was people around me. I built that lifestyle business, the one that you're talking about about there. So yeah, I think we'll agree to disagree and share some middle ground on that. The 360 versus 180, I suppose it's the kind of similar thing. Talk to me about talk to me about that. I have some thoughts, but I'll let you go first.
I guess I'll answer it first with a little picture. So post COVID, uh,
Yeah.
being in the world of digital and tech, our clients went mad. We had waiting lists to work with us, and we couldn't hire quick enough. So we turned to the delivery model. We got trainers in. We even outsourced some of our sourcing to the Philippines. Um, if I look at it, it just didn't work. Even though we had good outsourced trainers, we didn't have the capacity internally apart from our own leadership. But it didn't work. And I think we've kind of got to a place where if we look at where we're most successful and who is most successful for us,
Hmm.
they are people who have learned it elsewhere, as I said before. And we now only look for people who are 360. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that the business doesn't have a funnel that channels roles through. Of course it does, either as founders or a leadership team or just inbound because of our brand. But we don't feed people anymore. They're lucky if they get a
Yeah.
hand. That's how we view it. Um, we only look for those who go out hunting, and that's where we've seen our NFI per head increase quite dramatically from hiring those types of
Hmm.
people. Um, I think longer term, as we shift our model, and again, we can talk about this if you wish, but I think contingent doesn't really work that well anymore. We're predominantly a retained business now, and even that shifting into other service lines for us. So I do think as we adapt, we will need to look at plugging in delivery or sourcing functions
Hmm.
elsewhere in lower cost centers for it to be valuable to us if we shift our pricing for our clients. So I do think that the sourcing and candidate side model works, but I think for us in London, we only think that 360 is the way we'll continue for the foreseeable.
Yeah. Okay. So if I jump into some of that, it's market dependent is the short answer. So if the market's flying and you have a major account and you want to crack on with all your roles that are in there, but they're throwing you all this other easy stuff as well. You're going to want to not take that specific 360 niche recruiter on that. You're going to want to have a delivery function to nail in those other roles as well, and it doesn't affect your brand. So there's definitely, if there's a major account, it definitely helps growth and helps fund things for sure. If the market's crap, like it has been, you bin them all. And that would be the long and short of that. The the 180 is definitely easier to train. Um, I think some of the things I've seen not work is we get these candidates come to us. Oh, I just want a sales focused role where I'm bringing clients. I have rarely seen that work out in the UK. Um, because that person just wants to be out doing meetings and not be accountable for any of the placements. So I think there's a bit of a balance. The one area specifically is the 180 model works well in contract. You like because in contract you get one big account and then they're like, hey, we need this amount here. A lot of the biggest contract billers you'll see have three accounts, four accounts. They'll say, oh, I do BD, I do this. When you break it down on their billings on what they actually do, rarely are they out there doing BD. What they are is account managers. And if you look at every oil and gas recruitment company out there, they'll work that model as well. They'll have a 360 team as well, but predominantly they'll have their account executives. It'll go into the sourcing team. There's eight of them there, and they go crazy trying to fill these jobs because that speed to market thing is way faster. Um, I think if you want a 20-man business that's niche, all the rest that you guys have, and you want to be sure on your revenue and it's perm, it is a lot easier to just attract ready-made 360 people and all the rest. Um, but I think you're at risk of not building out your contract and your major accounts and all of those things. Again, it depends on what your what your overall all goals are.
I agree. I agree with everything you said there for the
Yeah.
record. I think I come from a place in this discussion where it's been a bruising few years for most recruitment firms, and certainly
Yeah, for me too.
right. So, you
Yeah.
know, I've kind of seen the delivery model not work for us very well.
Yeah.
I also completely agree that, some industries, it's the model that just works for how they operate. Like if there's big enterprise firms like, oil and gas, they're probably 260 consultants rather than 360 or 270, sorry.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
If that, yeah.
but I think, longer term, when things open up for us, I can definitely see us building a key accounts team or a delivery or sourcing function that's wherever it's based. I can absolutely see that.
Yeah.
But I don't think our business will ever be built again with a ratio that is more weighted towards delivery than it will be 360.
Yeah. Was that ratio more delivery focused at a point?
Definitely. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Post pandemic, um, you know, we we were 26 or so heads kind of when COVID hit. We grew to 46, 47. I would say 75% of that was delivery focused, and the rest of us were able to bring in those clients, stick them into essentially into a waiting room, get money from those clients up front, and they would wait there until we were ready to service them.
Wow.
We just built a model that was it was unbelievable, right, for most of us.
Yeah.
But the problem came for us was like we were servicing our clients, we were servicing demand, but when the market crashed as fast as it did, we were left with a large percentage of people that were too scared to pick up a phone and actually sell, a 360 business development style approach.
Yeah.
We had to shrink because of it. And most of those guys were just delivery focused. And ultimately, when you look at where they still are now, they're either left industry, they're still trying to do delivery, or they're internal.
But was there a net positive to like the amount of money you would have made in that period to the amount of money it would have cost to downsize? Like, sure, it hurts to see your numbers reduced from a head count, but surely the money was the juice was worth the squeeze on that growth, right?
We've never it's an interesting one. So we've never made more money either as individuals or as a company or our EBITDA. We got approached to be bought, and we entertained that conversation at the time to see like how that worked. Like it was a hell of a time. But if you asked me now, would I have preferred to have continued to hire good 360 people slowly or done what we did?
Yeah.
I genuinely think I would have just kept the current model we have now.
Yeah.
Hindsight, who knows? But I think we got hurt because we grew like our clients did, taking on large enterprise LinkedIn accounts, big office spaces that hold 50 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Market turns, you're fucked. You're left with all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, hindsight, I would have just carried on doing what probably intuitively felt right rather than
Yeah.
chasing what everyone was doing. But at the time, our
Yeah.
numbers were through the roof. They
How
flipped.
much more careful will you be about the contracts that you sign on the next upswing?
Now I will only sign yearly contracts, even
Yeah,
though it costs me more money.
big
I
time.
don't see me changing that any time.
Yeah,
Despite LinkedIn or whoever else dropping great reductions, I'd much rather have the flexibility than the cost.
sure. So many people have gone into liquidation because of bad negotiations on that. Just it's just crazy, right?
I've seen, rivals go, and I can't believe it. I do think we go. We spoke about community. I do think we're a funny industry though because, and I guess maybe this is part of your required stuff that you do. Like just yesterday, one of our rivals, I introduced them to an amazing candidate who's just too senior for what we have in our business.
Mm,
And I think we're an industry, depending on who you are and how long in the tooth you are, that actually you realize the value of just working together. It works better, in my opinion.
yeah,
I've got a load of people around me that actually are my rivals, like legit rivals, not just they do tech, who actually will get a beer together, we'll chat, we'll share
yeah,
profiles, and it works. And even though we do take from each other's businesses, it's kind of like we understand how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think we took a gamble on that 4 or 5 years ago, and then we were like, because everybody was like, "What's everybody doing now that COVID's happened?" And then it was like, boom! They were all just delighted. They were like, "Oh, I used to work with you here, and I used to work with you here now," and so it was yeah, that was an interesting time. Just jump into kind of final stuff on this one, Sam. You you mentioned moving to a retained model. Um,
Yeah.
I'm getting the feeling that you're not talking about traditional executive search. Are you thinking more, are you thinking more like a productized service that you're trying to put together for clients, or do you have a vision on what that looks like?
Yeah, yeah, really clear one. So earlier on, I was going to say I had a couple of points earlier when we were discussing that one of the things we also do for our clients is a lot of content work for them now. So we leverage our marketing. We're really good at brand and marketing. So we'll
Yeah,
leverage that for our clients to help them with their EVP and other things. So what we do with our clients now is we've got like a list of benefits as to why they would choose us over someone that is a contingent agency. Um, One of those things for us is we call it a candidate pack. So when we win a client, we build this pack out and it's detailed. It's a bit like a pitch deck. Really nice one. So if you think about the argument, and you'll get this, Dualta, right? But you've got John, he's working with a fintech. He's
mm,
messaged someone on LinkedIn like, "Hi, I'm working with this fintech. They've got 100 grand to pay. Are you interested?" Or there's us that says, "Hey, we're working with Monzo. Here's a pitch deck all about them, all about the role, all about your manager who you'd work with." Our chance of success is far greater just by that document. And there's a load of other things that we include.
yeah,
Our retainer, we call it an upfront fee, is really low. It's not significant, but it's significant enough to get the client invested in what we're doing and therefore knocking a lot of the competition out of the way and increasing our chance of success. So at the moment, we're about 80%. Some of it will take on, it's contingent because it's a larger firm and they just won't do it. But actually, you'll be surprised. A lot of our larger clients will still continue to pay us, our retainers, when they give us roles because the success is so much higher that we deliver on.
mm,
But that's also advancing for us next year. We're slightly, I guess, reproductizing that offering further. We've all seen the rise of like RPOs, embedded solutions, all these things. We dabbled in it, we had success, then the market really turned.
I think that's a very market dependent.
I agree.
Yeah,
Uh, and I think the biggest risk in that industry is as you say, it's market dependency, but it's also the individual that's working on the roles
yeah,
the client has. So if someone's got, I don't know, let's say 10 roles and John Smith's working for them and John's background is in engineering recruitment, but the client's got roles that are finance, product, design. We're going to be way quicker at delivering to the bulk of those roles with our skill set versus that one person. So the
yeah,
model that we've built out and will launch next year aims to tackle what the embedded solutions are doing at a better price, at a far quicker service. Um, but again, it's a retained style model. So
yeah,
I think, going back to what we said earlier, we have to adapt and we have to
mm,
shift away from working low fees contingent. We're seeing loads of this with like one man bands saying, "I'll do it at 9%." Like,
yeah, right.
get it, but
Yeah.
it ain't going to work long term. So we're adapting that stuff. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm just fleshing it out in my head. So, you're thinking obviously there's a nominal upfront fee to get them interested in working with you, and then uh, you help them with their marketing. You work with them alongside
Right.
for their EVP and how this is presented to them. That all gets signed off, agreed. Then you walk them through what the process looks like. Then you're probably going back to them and showing them the workings of what you've done, and then from there just running the gauntlet and maybe throwing in the odd assessment and stuff at the end.
Pretty much. We don't do assessments for them, but yeah, we've got, 5 or 6 different components to our offering that are
Yeah.
above and beyond contingent that I shared with you kind of off camera, right, about we've stopped trying to just be successful. We are trying to be significant for clients, and we believe that success comes from being significant.
Sure.
And I think that the view that we take is if we can add value with other things, they will see the significance of
Yeah.
the ability for us to hire quickly but correctly. So
Mm.
these 5 or 6 different things we do. One is a candidate pack. Two is leveraging our marketing team to provide internal marketing comms for the client, all for the same fee that someone else would charge contingent, but we're locking
So
it.
when you say leverage, so you do your candidate pack.
Yeah,
What do you mean leveraging your marketing for them? Like what does that entail? Just so I don't get lost in my own head
yeah,
here.
yeah. It could be all manner of things. So I'll give you one
Yeah.
example. One of our brand new consultants who is tremendously experienced, run his own business, but for his own reasons wanted to stop doing that and joined us. And he was a 300 grand a year biller by himself, for some clarity. He'd never won a retainer. He's been with us just over a month. He won his first retained role yesterday. We taught him how to pitch it. He won it. As part of that win, there's a number of things he's doing. But what was key for that client was they don't have anyone internal about marketing. So what we're doing for them with our marketing team is helping them build their EVP or their employer value proposition by
Mm.
helping them to build out their employer brand. So let us help you get your careers site correct so that actually when you're getting candidates come through yourself, you can work with that. Let us help create some content for you that you can share about your business that's different to just a candidate pack or job description. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just little details that they go, that's really valuable because we don't actually have that.
Yeah.
It's just a value add. Some businesses are larger, they don't need it. So we pick and choose from the list of things we can offer.
Nice.
It's just it's adding the value that someone who's charging, I don't know, 20% is not giving them the same thing. So
Mm.
small upfront fee, we get the buy-in and the commitment, and it works really well. So, we were running God, I don't know, the last year, probably 11 grand NFI per head. It was okay, it wasn't great. We're now closer to 17, which is like, I think, outstanding in our world.
Yeah, yeah.
And this stuff's a big part of it. We're just getting commitment. So we have to win 2 of these a month per person, and we're pretty much placing every single one of them. Uh,
Good. Love it.
Different model for us, but it's working.
No, no, I kind of where my head was going as well. No, that's good. All right, Sam, that's us. We've been talking for ages. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
nice. I appreciate it, mate. Yeah, thank you to you too.
Loads of good insights. So, God, we covered a lot there. Remote, 360, 180, retain, contract, contingent, internationalization, scaling up, scaling down. We've run the gauntlet here today.
You into
Any
the
any last words of advice for anybody who's setting up their own recruitment business?
as a one-man band or as a bigger firm?
Don't know. Do
Uh,
you?
I think I've probably learned to keep costs down. Be really considerate of your contracts and your costs. Um, I think as well, like really think about other ways to revenue generate and to stand out. And
Mm.
don't also be shy from being clear to people what you're trying to achieve. I think too many people try and do something different, but then are too scared to say why they're doing it differently and then never end up actually trying to close something.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, yeah, finally, if you really want to do it, like fuck it, go for it. Sky's the limit, and fortune favors the brave. You got nothing to lose, and if you're that good, someone will hire if it doesn't work.
Awesome. All right. Till next time.
Thank you, mate.